welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna do something a little different. Usually it's just straight into the car stuff, but this time, as you might have seen from the title, I gotta figure out if my dyno's been lying to me. Okay, so what do I mean by my dyno's been lying to me? The actual dyno is not malfunctioning in any way, but I had a situation a week ago that made me think about whether my number was correct. So we were dyno tuning this MR2 with a K24 in it, and it makes about 600 horsepower. And then he had a tire issue. We replaced it with a stickier tire, put it back on the dyno without changing the tune file, and the car made 750 horsepower the next dyno pull. And it made me start thinking like, oh my gosh, like maybe, because I was hoping this would make 700 horsepower, like 37 pounds of boost, you would think it would do it. And it just didn't do it. I figured, you know, whatever, motor's tired, who knows, you know, whatever. But after that other car, it made me think like, you know, what could I do to get a little bit more traction on the dyno? And that kind of leads me to today's construction project. So on a front wheel drive car, when you start making power, the car tends to lift up in the front, and it'll lift the tire up off the dyno, and it creates some spin. So what I've seen people do in the past, and we're just gonna go ahead and do it today, is we add a few floor anchors and a bar across so that the straps will kind of go under this bar and then more straight vertical up to the car, which will keep it pulled more straight down to kind of keep that tire seated in the roller. So I'm gonna go ahead and be Mr. Construction for a few hours and anchor this sucker down. I'm gonna strap the car back up, and without changing anything, I'm gonna see if it makes more power. Okay, now the second part of this whole deal, I'm gonna try to air these tires down to about 20 PSI and just see if, you know, having them a little bit softer will help seat them into the roller a bit, just like we lower our tire pressure at the track, right? Let's see what that will do. Okay, so I think the bar idea works. However, I need to get a stiffer bar. I don't know if you guys saw in the low angle video, the bar was like flexing and bending as the car comes up. I think a stiffer bar will help even more. But with that little bit of extra help and the tires aired down, unfortunately, I don't think that the car makes any more horsepower. I was really hoping, but you know, it made pretty much the same as last time, like almost 560, or I mean 660. But you know, we could always try. We just, you know, we build these cars, you just want them to make like all the horsepower. It's always the dyno's fault or your tuner, you know, like, yeah. So, I mean, it's okay. We technically last time we took this to the track anyways, it only made 480 horsepower. So, you know, 650-ish horsepower. It should be a lot of fun. So hopefully we'll get a track day soon. I can take you guys down there. All right, let's get on to some other stuff. Okay, so for the last part of this video, I didn't really have a lot of stuff going on, but since I had a minute, I figured I would put my car back on the dyno, the 350Z, and just try to see if on a really hot day my horsepower is much different than on a really cold day. And hold on, I'm reflashing this thing right now. And after just making that dyno pull, it made 396 at 85-degree weather, and it made 401 at like 50-degree weather. So it's like within 5 horsepower. I'm like super happy with it. 7 pounds of boost, a 400 horsepower car. It seems pretty safe and reliable. All this, like the numbers are really repeating themselves really well. The tune is just super solid and locked down. I don't know, I'm just really happy with it. And that's really what you want. You want like a good running, reliable, repeatable car. You know, you want it to start and run good in every situation. You want to make about the same horsepower on a hot or a cold day. And I think with this one, I finally
you know, got it like perfect, basically. So also I did something. I was comparing my graph to Raven's 350Z graph with the same motor. He has a slightly bigger turbo, and the only other difference in the two cars was I have a custom intake manifold, and he has a stock intake manifold with a spacer. And there is a bit of a difference. When I lay the two graphs over each other, I spool up a little earlier because my turbo is smaller, and then he starts to make more power in the middle because his turbo is bigger. And then we get to the top where he should just climb over my number, and it doesn't. It like falls off torque, and I think that has to do with his intake manifold, because it's really the only difference on the two cars is the intake manifold. So bigger plenum, shorter runner on mine makes a humongous difference from about 6,000, 7,000 RPM range. When I had tuned it all motor, it actually lost power in those ranges, and it kind of makes sense now. But if you're filling it with pressurized air, it's kind of fantastic. So bigger plenum and shorter runners on a boosted car is fantastic. Also, I've tuned at least 5 cars with this exact same turbo kit, and mine makes the most out of all of them by about 25 horsepower, and the 25 horsepower happens right at that 6,000 to 7,000 RPM range. So it was a lot of work to build that intake manifold, and I never really released it to the public or made like a purchasable version for other people to get. But after really nailing down the power band with a turbo car, this is kind of the turbo kit that everybody would buy. It's the most affordable, and it works great. This manifold, the intake manifold, is like a perfect coupling with it. I can get to my spark plugs really fast. I can maintenance everything really easy. And then it just makes that extra power that we all want from the upper RPM. So if I can find a way to manufacture these cheaper, maybe I'll release a version. But let me show you really quick. Let me hop out the car and I'll show you the graph right now. But I just figured I'd kind of update you on what I was doing anyway. I do love driving the 350Z. I mean, the Rev 9 turbo kit with just a little modification and the work that it takes to put it on is really fantastic for the cost. And for 5 or 7 pounds of boost, I think every 350Z would have a fun time with this on there. So I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. Okay, so for those of you that haven't watched my videos for a while or don't have any idea what I was talking about my intake manifold that I was talking about, let me show you. Also, really quick, let me show you the 2 dyno graphs. Let's see, focus. Okay, this is on a super cold day. This is on a super hot day. We're like, 4 or 5 horsepower different. That's pretty normal. The tune is as solid as it can be. And the biggest thing that I've noticed after tuning a lot of these cars is the horsepower from about here on falls off. And most people just don't make the 400 horsepower number on the stock intake manifold. So I mean, the only difference between my car and these other cars is just the intake manifold, literally. I have the bigger plenum and a little bit shorter runners, and it just makes enough difference, I guess, to hold the RPM all the way out. So for you guys that haven't seen it, this is it. I just made like a custom billet lower piece that adapts to the runners. The factory lower piece comes up, goes to our little billet plate here, and then this is just the upper plenum, and it kind of goes over there for the throttle body. I did like a bunch of flow analysis and testing on this. My friend actually helped me, and we wanted to put the throttle body coming right into the side, but we realized if you don't come around and into the back like the way Nissan did, that the airflow swirled really weird, and it made a bunch of pressure differentials between the cylinders. So the way that we come in through the middle made it nearly even across all 6 cylinders, which was pretty rad. So, and then we tested out material thickness and a bunch of stuff for the upper plenum, to make sure it would hold the amount of boost without flexing and doing anything weird. So we actually spent a lot of time designing and building this. And the other crazy cool thing about it is, if you'll notice that my spark plugs and coils are just right here, so I can access and change my spark plugs. I can simply just pull this one intake tube off and change my spark plug tubes. I don't have to take the whole intake manifold off. which is a huge advantage. If any of you guys have owned a Z for a while and you've done spark plugs, it's like a big pain in the butt. Those are two really, really cool things about this particular intake manifold. That and the fact that if you're boosted, it makes crazy, crazy good power up top. So, I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll consider making a few more for some people to try out on their cars, but it's probably the best upgrade I've done on the motor to add to this turbo kit. Alright, so I guess that's going to be about it for this video. Comment below if any of you guys have a boosted Z or thinking about going boost. You know, let me know if a cooler intake manifold would be something you might be interested in. I've thought about, you know, manufacturing them. I just haven't really figured out how to do that. So, all right. Hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.